And welcome to today's episode of Pro Landscaper TV. We're here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. for around 40 minutes to discuss some of the hottest topics in the landscaping industry. If you watched last week, listen, Jim Wilkinson had an in-depth chat with Green Blue Urban's Howard Gray regarding urban tree planting, amongst many other things. So if you missed that or you want to catch up on it, all previous episodes of Pro Landscapers TV episodes are on our YouTube channel. Whilst you're there, please do subscribe to stay on top of all things Pro Landscaper TV. And please do like any of the videos that you enjoyed by giving them a big thumbs up. So before we move on to today's episode, I just wanted to let you know about some upcoming episodes we have on the horizon. So next week, Jim Wilkinson will be joined by Sarah Eberly, one of the most decorated garden designers in RHS Chelsea history. So she'll be sharing views on her career, and it will be really worth tuning into. So in 2 weeks' time, we then have our Deputy Head of Content for Pro Landscaper, Rachel Forsyth. She'll be taking an in-depth look into one of the biggest businesses in the sector. So she'll be joined by Ground Control, and it will be Simon Morris and Jason Knight to discuss the vision for the business and how they have achieved carbon neutrality. So it's time to move on to today's episode. So I am delighted to be joined by Hester McQueen of Custom Build Homes, Danny Thorpe from Brett Landscaping, and Hannah Jepp from idverde. So Danny, if you just want to start by introducing yourself and letting us know a bit about what you do for Brett, and and then Hester and Hannah as well.
Sure. Morning, everyone. I'm Danny Thorpe. I'm Head of Marketing at Brett Landscaping, and I'm also the Brett Approved Installer Scheme Manager. I've been with the business now for just over 2.5 years. I have been in kind of the construction industry for the last 7, and then prior to that, more of a publishing background. So bit two different kind of industries, really. So Brett Landscaping, we are the largest independent landscaping and building products manufacturer in the UK, predominantly focusing on concrete paving and porcelain paving.
Perfect. And Hester?
Hi, I'm Hester McQueen. I head up the marketing at Custom Build Homes, and I offer advice to build store. I'm an experienced marketeer in startup companies such as idverde, who was recently acquired by Multi Solutions. And more recently, I worked for the Institute of Chartered Foresters, where I led Select National events and the campaign I Look Like a Forester while successfully growing our membership. Custom Build Homes is the UK's custom build enabler, and we work in partnership with landowners and local authorities to enable people to design and create their own homes.
Perfect, thank you. And Hannah?
Hi, I'm Hannah from idverde. I head up the marketing team for idverde UK and also our sub-brands Plantscape, Icewatch and Playfuss. So I've been with the company now just over 1.5 years, and we work with a range of clients from public sector and B2B, and provide a wide range of landscaping services.
Perfect. Well, thanks, guys. So what we're talking about today is obviously how to get the best out of your marketing campaign. So hopefully you can pick your brains a bit and share some golden nuggets with the audience. So obviously one of the biggest things that people want to know when looking at marketing campaigns is how are you kind of measuring that they've worked. So Danny, when it comes to a new campaign, what different channels are you using, and how important is it to be able to measure that return on investment?
I think for us, it's really key when we're looking at return on investment is actually understanding what it is that we're out there to achieve in the first place. So whether that is engagement related, whether it's revenue related. So we kind of use a number of factors there, really. Again, it's one of those things that sometimes not all marketing campaigns can be completely measurable as well, which is a real challenge when you're having to go back and show the return on investment. But I think key for us at the moment is really pushing on social, paid social and PPC, And with that, it enables us to be a lot more flexible, adaptable. We can kind of move our budgets around. Obviously, at the moment, it's a very uncertain world, so we've had to adapt really quickly.
Yeah. And how have you seen things change in terms of your plans then over the last 18 months? What's been the kind of biggest change that you've had to make since the start of the pandemic?
I think really just our whole approach, to be honest with you. I think we've had so many different challenges within our business and then the wider industry in terms of sort of product availability, transportation issues, merchants being open, that sort of thing. So something we were really successful at was kind of really switching our online e-commerce approach. And with that, we saw phenomenal kind of growth within a 12-month period last year. Now we are expecting that bubble to have burst a little bit this year, but I think it's completely switched people's mentality in how they can purchase landscaping and building products moving forwards.
Yeah, no, perfect. And Hannah, at idverde, obviously a lot of long-term contracts, and there's that real customer kind of experience and customer service aspect to it. So how important is that to you in your marketing plans? You know, looking after those customers once you've got them on board.
Yeah, I think you know, at idverde, the customer to us is central, as for many businesses. We put them at the forefront of everything that we do, and one of the things that we've noticed is you know, customers like to see relevant content and engaging content, so it's just adjusting to that. And for us, one of the things that we've noticed as well is that there has been a big shift onto digital marketing. So as Danny was saying, you know, social media campaigns and PPC campaigns are big for us at the minute, because normally we're in front of our customers every day, and not being able to have those face-to-face meetings and the customer care interaction that we would normally have, it's just been adjusting to that and adapting and changing the channels that we're using to contact our customers through. But yeah, customer care for us, it's a big value of ours. So yeah, it's been a difficult time.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And with PPC campaigns and social media and things, how are you kind of seeing the results on that? Are they quite instant, or is it something that you're having to, you know, revisit in 6 months' time and think it's more that kind of longevity with it?
For us, PPC campaigns work really well. So as we offer such a wide variety of services, we're always looking at different target audiences and different approaches. So you really have to tailor it to the audience that you're looking at. PPC obviously works quite well for B2B because they're quite active on search engines. And yeah, we tend to see immediate results. Obviously, the sales process once they've, you know, accessed our website through PPC is a bit of a longer process, identifying what it is they're after, and yeah, progressing that forward from there is a bit of a longer process. But PPC does tend to work quite well for us, as you know, as long as you're using the correct keywords and you know exactly what it is that they're searching for. Tend to work quite well for us.
Yeah, and is that something that you outsource at idverde, or is it dealt with all in-house in the marketing team? Or
currently it's dealt with in-house. So when we acquired a couple of the other businesses over the past few years, our marketing team has grown. So we have a in-house digital marketing manager who manages that process for us. She runs that alongside our digital marketing apprentice. So that is something that we do run in-house.
Yeah, and Hester, how much does social media come into the marketing plans for custom build homes? Is that something that you've seen increase in terms of the return it gives you over the last year and a half?
I've not really focused on social media at the moment.
Okay.
We have focused more on PR, so getting our story on different news outlets, and that's been working well for us. And we've been creating brochures to kind of explain what we're doing. So we're focused on kind of creating content that's meaningful to our customer. So at the moment we're kind of creating a whole toolkit. So we've got a development launching, I think, next month, which is Trinity Muse. And so we're just making sure we've got everything ready, so when we do it, it makes a powerful impact. So that's what we've been focusing on the last year, which it does include social media. So we've got all the content ready, but we haven't wanted to put any money in it yet.
Yeah, no. And in terms of the PR that you're doing, then how are you pushing that out there?
So we're going for a thought leadership direction, and I'm working with all our senior members of staff. So at the moment I'm working with our planning director, and we've managed to get featured articles, for example, in the Planner, which is part of the Royal Institute of Planners. So it's just making sure that they're seen as experts and thought leaders, and basically when the government announce news, we're making sure that we can educate the people who we want to kind of target, so they can see us as the people who are experts in our fields.
Yeah.
So far that's been working really well for us.
Being that trustworthy source. Yeah. No, so when it comes to social media and Instagram and Twitter and things like that, is that something in the future plans for custom build homes, or is that just not kind of where you see your audience?
No, it is 100% where our audience is, because we're such a small team. For me, it doesn't bring enough value back in at the moment. So
yeah,
for us, it's more important the B2B audience, bringing the clients to us, because without our clients, we don't have anything to offer to our customers. So because I think there's only 3 of us in the marketing department, we've kind of got to make sure we put it in the right areas.
No, definitely. No, well, Danny, moving on from social media then, I wanted to talk about competitors, and I wondered how much you are looking at what your competitors are doing when it comes to marketing.
I think for us it's always key to keep an eye on what other people are doing, but I think we want to establish ourselves as us as Brett, and so whilst it's important to kind of keep up with what everybody's doing, you know, some of the mainstream competitors, we are never going to be that big, and nor do we want to be. So for us it's really focusing on, okay, where are we at, what are our values, how can we kind of slot in nicely, and there is always going to be that sort of niche market that you are going to relate to. So yeah, whilst we kind of look for like product development and things like that, obviously at the wider marketplace, for us it's very much, this is what we do really well, how do we build upon us, because I think otherwise you can get so entrenched in trying to compete against the competition, and it's a battle.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, what about you, Hannah, when it comes to the competition for idverde and what they're doing, and I guess how you respond to that?
Yeah, we're similar to Danny, to be honest. So we do monitor what our competitors are doing. We set up regular tracking, and do a lot of brand monitoring as well for our competitors. And it's not necessarily the fact that we want to compete with them or replicate what it is they're doing. We actually really want to differentiate ourselves in the market. We want to be quite an individual brand, and going back to what I was saying before, our values mean a lot to us, so we embed that in what we do day to day. So it does make us quite different to our competitors. So I think it's always good to monitor what is going on. But for me, it's more about your market research and knowing what's going on in the market and what your customers want, rather than what your competitors are doing. But it is key, obviously, to monitor what they're doing, just to make sure that you're not falling too far behind. But yeah, that's we do it. We do a bit of brand monitoring and things like that.
Yeah. And what about for you, Hester, at Custom Build Homes, in terms of competitors? I guess what you do is quite niche, so how big is that competitor market for you as well?
And we're the only custom build enabler, so all our competition are indirect, so we kind of work out where our audiences could be. I've kind of created like a brand positioning, so understanding our values of where we want to kind of like position our brand as, and finding indirect competitors where they are, so we can try to work out how we can create a bigger share of that market. So at the moment it's still at the start. So we're just kind of looking to see what like indirect competitors we like, and keeping an eye on what they're up to. Nobody's really doing what we're doing, so it's more about creating a trusted brand for us.
Yeah, no, definitely. And how important is branding as a whole for you, Hester, in your plans? Because obviously, you know, there's marketing that, you know, you can push out to generate direct sales, and you know, that's what you'll get from your sales team in terms of their needs, but you know, that brand awareness is really key. And how do you focus on that and ensure that, you know, everything that you put out there is part of your brand and your message?
So brand is one of our strategies for the next 10 years. So it's our biggest milestone. And for me at the moment, it's creating the foundation. So at the moment we're doing a brand audit of all our kind of tools that we have to make sure everything's consistent, the message is consistent. We've done a lot of workshops in-house. We've brought experts in so that the team understand our values, our personality, the tone of voice, which is really important. So when we're creating our content, it's everything feels on brand. So at the moment, it's about building a really strong brand that people want to trust, and then it's about creating stories that people want to follow. So that's kind of where the thought leadership comes into. So I think for us, that will be the most important strategy for the whole marketing side. Yeah,
no, definitely. And Hannah, when it comes to branding, what brands would you say you look up to in terms of their marketing campaigns and their branding?
So sitting separate to the landscaping industry, one of the brands that I personally look up to is Aldi. Obviously everyone will be aware of their social media campaigns, and it's probably the typical answer at the minute if that was the question for anyone. I just love how relatable they are, and I think one of the things that people struggle with social media is recognizing that actually it is a person behind the account. And when you're posting out there as a brand, sometimes people can forget that, so they'll, you know, turn to social media to push their anger out or raise a complaint, but actually it is a person sat behind that account. And I think Aldi manage that so well. They post relevant and really engaging replies. They're actually quite funny in what they do. So I think that's a brand that I look up to in terms of following in their footsteps, but you have to be a bit careful with some of your brands on social media, so I suppose we couldn't necessarily.
Definitely, but I think that's a really good answer. Danny, what about you in terms of other brands, not necessarily landscaping related?
I think I would have picked exactly the same as Hannah. I think Aldi, and I just think the way that they've grown over the last 10 years and kind of positioned themselves now is fantastic. And I think they're approachable, you know, they're humorous, but and I really like how they collaborate with other people as well on social media. Other big brands, I think they kind of do a lot with Yorkshire tea backwards and forwards, and they're fantastic as well on social. So I think the stuff that they put out there is fantastic, and not just in a social aspect. I just think now kind of how they position themselves, you know, 10 years ago people might have been embarrassed sort of thing to go to Aldi and stuff, and now it's kind of what they've kind of they've done is fantastic.
No, definitely. And Hester, what about you in terms of brands that you admire?
I love Brewdog, and the reason is the owner, he kind of takes you on a story. So I follow him on LinkedIn, and I just love the fact that he kind of doesn't have lots of like people writing his story. He's pretty much creating the story, and it's like a story that I'd want to follow. Even the way that they constantly bring out different flavors and opening up different bars and experiences, I think it's an interesting brand. The way they advertise as well.
And it's definitely different to what other companies are doing in their market. So no, definitely really, really good answers there. And I wanted to talk about how sales and marketing work together. So Danny, how much involvement do you have with the sales team, and how do you kind of manage that relationship in terms of wanting, you know, instant results to actually having that campaign thought out, you know, over a long term?
We work really closely together with sales, and I think it's so important for our business for those two separate strategies to be aligned so that we can kind of join forces, and ultimately we're all trying to get to the end goal. So the more that we can kind of be on board with each other, the better results we're going to get. So for us, I think, you know, our sales guys, they are out there sort of every day speaking to the audience. So it's really vital that they feed back to us what are the issues that these people are experiencing, and how do we then kind of push out the solution to everybody. So I think it is really key for us.
And the same question to you then, Hannah, in terms of sales and marketing working together.
Yeah, we, you know, again, work quite closely with our sales teams, and there's a lot of kind of crossover as well between the sales teams in the different businesses. So we have a lot of team meetings and a team update just to see what's going on in the market. Like Danny was saying, you know, they're with the customer day in, day out, so you get quite a lot of information from them that you wouldn't necessarily see online or see through their marketing if they're not necessarily, you know, in the day-to-day of it. So yeah, we do work quite closely with them. And again, it just allows us to tailor our messaging, and just touching on what Hester was saying earlier as well, from a branding point of view, we're going through a process with our sales team at the minute of, you know, aligning that, because we've had a number of acquisitions over the last few years. So it's just aligning that sales process and you know, seeing what's worked in the different businesses that we've acquired as well. So that's kind of a process that we're going through at the minute, making sure everything's aligned and that the branding, you know, everyone's kind of singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, no, definitely. And looking at kind of how much is dealt with in-house and you know, outsourcing certain digital aspects. Danny, how much would you say the shift has focused in the 2.5 years that you've been at Brett, from maybe whether it's more event focused, putting more into digital? How has that shifted since your time at the company?
I think absolutely we have shifted more towards digital. I think there's still key elements that are really important for us. So PR and print does still play a part, but we have now formulated a really strong digital strategy. And really for the next couple of years, we kind of know where we want to get to. I think, again, going back to kind of the brand side of things, when I joined, I think 6 months in, we looked to do a brand refresh. So kind of implemented that after the first 6 months of being there. And I think it was really important to kind of gather the whole business and really look again at what are our values, what is our why, you know, what are our golden circles, how do we speak to our audiences? Because I think possibly we were trying to be all things to all people. And I think we've really had to kind of narrow it down and focus on very key target audiences and speak to them in very specific ways. And then that, once you've got that foundation in place, you can then apply it to all of your kind of marketing plans and strategies. So whether that be through digital channels, print, PR. So yeah, we're hoping to get some events in this year, fingers crossed. But I think, again, for me, it's very difficult, you know, because we don't sell directly to the end user. It's kind of, it can be quite difficult to show an ROI on events. So I think it's been quite refreshing to have this 12 months out and a year out, because we've been able to reevaluate what we've done in the past and how we can do it a little bit more successfully moving forwards.
Yeah, no, definitely. And with obviously not selling direct, how much of your kind of strategy includes, you know, looking after your installers and you know, referrals and things like that?
Yeah, so we essentially kind of sell through quite a few different channels, really. So it's still very important to us that we speak to the end user and the homeowner, but we've almost got the kind of middlemen in between. So we've either got the merchant network or we've got our installer network. So our installer network is a really small community. I think we're sitting at 126 at the moment. So we've got a really nice small community of like-minded professionals who are essentially our brand advocates. So they are going out there and kind of selling our product for us. So they're very loyal to us, you know, they're fantastic bunch of people. So it's really important for us that our service levels, and we really focus strongly on supporting that group of people, because in turn that obviously builds their business as well as ours.
And Hannah, obviously people watching this webinar, you know, want tips on you know, how to run a successful marketing campaign. And I guess what would be your kind of key tips when starting afresh? I guess it gets to the end of the year and you think, right, let's look at what we've done and what we're going to do going forward. What would be some key bits of advice that you would give to a business owner or marketing professional?
Yeah, I'd probably advise, to be honest, look back on the year that you've just had, review what worked well, what didn't, what did you spend in certain areas, and did it bring any return on investment? I know, like Danny was saying, you know, it is hard to track a lot of things like PR and event success. But I suppose sometimes when you're embedded in the business, you do tend to get a good feel for if it's worked or not. And then when planning ahead, what I would say is, make sure you do your research. So what is it that you're trying to promote? What is it that you're trying to sell to someone? And look at why it is that they should pick you. So a lot of the time, you know, pricing can be quite similar, and actually sometimes it is your brand, it is your values, it is your customer service that sets you apart. So how can you embed that in your marketing messages and just make them pick you above a competitor? And I think that would be my biggest tip. Make sure you know what your customers want, and make sure that your content is relevant to them and engaging, because otherwise they're going to drop off and they're not going to engage, and you know, you've kind of lost them, I think, at that first touch point. So that would be my biggest tip to everyone.
Yeah, no. And what about you, Hester? What tips would you give?
Well, understand what the kind of strategies for the organization, and I'd create probably smart metrics for the year of what I'm going to achieve. And then from there, I would kind of work out what worked the year before and what Hannah said. And then kind of do a lot of like learning, because we're such a small team still. We're still working out what's working and what's not. So we do a lot of A/B testing on the website. So I would definitely recommend putting a lot of experiments so that you're constantly improving it. But I'd also put controls in place as well, so that you kind of make sure that your strategy that you make is going to work. So if you know what you're trying to achieve, then I would kind of work out, is it going to be more traditional, is it going to be digital, and then working out your resources and where you should put the resources before kind of putting your campaign together.
Yeah, and how would you ensure that you're sticking to those objectives that you've set at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the campaign?
So we do, I do weekly meetings with senior leadership team, and then I present monthly to our CEO. So you're keeping that momentum going every week, but also you've got something to kind of present at the end of the month to the team.
Yeah.
And that's also to make sure that everyone within the team, they feel like they're going on your journey and they know where they're kind of where the work they're doing, how they're inputting to like achieve like the actual business objectives. So yeah, you've got everyone kind of pushing each other along. I think it's easier than rather than working in silos. So yeah, I think departments push each other.
Yeah, no, I think that constant communication is definitely key. And Danny, what about you for kind of tips and any top kind of tips that you'd offer?
I think for me, I'd say be genuine, be true to who you really are, being authentic. And I think being consistent as well is really important. You know, don't overpromise and underdeliver sort of thing. And I think rather than somebody kind of trying to spread themselves too thin, maybe focus on 2, maybe 3 core audiences, platforms, and then look at how you can do that really well, rather than trying to be all things to all people, really. And again, it's with everything, communication is just absolute key. So I think constantly kind of reviewing, re-implementing, because I think sometimes for me, campaigns could actually can kind of be more successful the longer that they've been running after you've done all of the reviews. So you're not always going to get it right first time. And I think that's the great thing with digital marketing, is that you can be flexible and adaptable, and you can do your A/B testing, you can swap out and change things. And it's all about learning and kind of acting on what you've learned and making it more successful again moving forwards.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you say, over promising and under delivering is just not what you want to be doing, and honesty is really important, especially at the moment with long lead times and things like that, managing people's expectations. So we had a question come through actually, that I wanted to ask. Now I'll put it to you first, Hannah. Someone was looking at how they can reach their target audience. So they're saying wealthy, sustainably conscious, Tesla driving, with a sense of community and social responsibility, and they don't use social media because they value their privacy too much. So how should they be marketed to? So it's quite a specific customer type there.
Yeah, did they say anything about what service offering or anything it is that they're looking
So it's a garden design.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To be honest, more people are on social media than you'd think. So what I would say is I'd probably research it a little bit more, because there is a social media platform for everyone. And actually, you know, your messages, you've got to think that these people, although you're trying to market to them, they are actually human beings as well. So they do have a personal life. So you might not be reaching them from a business point of view, but actually, you know, I've noticed brands on social media in my personal time that I've actually used for work. And I think it's just about identifying what platform works best for them. If you're 100% sure, you know, they're not on social media, then what I would say is maybe look at hiring some data. So you can have a look at, you know, email marketing campaigns to them. But I'd probably go with pay-per-click, to be honest. A lot of users are using search engines to research services and maybe not necessarily find who that supplier is going to be, but look for informative content. So they might be asking, you know, what type of flowers or plants are best in my garden if it's a south-facing garden, and then as a provider, you'll be able to, you know, tailor your messaging to those to the keywords. And they may come across you that way. So I'd probably go down the informative content route and pay-per-click.
Perfect. And Hester, what would you suggest for trying to reach the unreachable?
So an example of what we did for one of our sites, our audience, they weren't really on social media. It wasn't working for this strategy. So we did flyering instead. So we went down and flyered last year, and we put up billboards, and that's kind of how we sold our site. So flyering for us was really successful.
Yeah, kind of going back to that traditional get in front of your customer marketing. And Danny, any suggestions from you?
I think it sounds like they're in a really good position if they already know that much level of detail about their customer already. Yeah. So I think as Hannah touched on, it's looking at kind of what those people are going to be interested in and searching for outside of what you're trying to sell to them. So I think, yeah, with the PPC, maybe a GDN campaign where you're retargeting. So again, I think as Hannah said, you know, if they're looking at various other things, how can you retarget and kind of put your brand in front of them? And I think, again, publications as well, go back to traditional. I think if somebody's kind of doing a lot of inspirational searching and kind of gathering, then kind of just being at the forefront of their mind is trying to catch them where they least expect it.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, well, thank you for that. And hopefully that's helped the person watching. one of the final things I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I was hoping that each of you could kind of talk me through a really successful campaign that you've run and why, and kind of just end on a really positive note. So Hannah, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I can do. We've been running some email marketing campaigns recently. So what we've done is identified a quiet spot for us, I suppose, so where we've got a bit of white space and we're not necessarily working in that region. So we've done a bit of market research in that region for the target audience that we wanted to approach. Once we identified what the demographic looked like for our target audience, we actually hired a marketing email marketing list, and we've been doing email marketing campaigns to that list. We've been able to, obviously, with our email marketing system, monitor the click-through rate, the open rate, and then obviously if the campaign wasn't successful for certain email addresses, we'd actually send a resend, or we'd do some A/B testing and see what is making that person click. So we've been targeting a new audience through email marketing, and we've actually had some of the leads that were generated from that email campaign convert recently. So we've been able to monitor the return on investment on that campaign. So that's been a really good success for us. And yeah, it was all down to researching that target audience and seeing what sells to them. No,
definitely, that's really good. And Hester, I know in your bio you mentioned the I Look Like a Forester campaign. So I wonder if you could kind of talk about the success of that.
So I did that when I worked for the Institute of Chartered Foresters, and that would be about 3 years ago now. And that's all about kind of inspiring women to join forestry and arboriculture. So it wasn't just aimed at foresters. And within that, we used our connections. So we have connections to like the European Forestry Institute. So we tried to go kind of global with the campaign. So we got all the kind of the institutes, even like the Arb Association, Confer, to help kind of spread the message about trying to get people to join in with the hashtag I Look Like a Forester. So we had like Forestry Scotland helping us, like Forestry England helping us. So it was trying to get all those key players involved, and that really is what helped the campaign. I did interviews with key people within the industry on the website, so that we had stuff to kind of push out during the day. We did interviews within our actual publication, Chartered Forester, and then we put a kind of press release out as well, which got spotted in a few like newspapers, which was really good.
Yeah.
So I think it was something like 3 million impressions is what we achieved on social media that day. So I spent the whole day thanking people. It was very old school because I had to like pick up the phone asking members as well. So we were lucky we had about, I don't know, 1,500 members. So I was able to push out and try to get everyone within the institute to kind of help promote it as well. So it was good that we had that kind of engagement. And I think without that support, it wouldn't have been a success.
And I think it's always nice to kind of bring that personal aspect back to it as well. So people like to deal with people at the end of the day. So if you are picking up the phone, I think it makes a great impression. So Danny, what about you for successful campaigns or favourite ones that you've worked on?
I think for us, something that's been really positive is our porcelain campaign this year. So obviously porcelain paving, we launched that in February. Now it's a relatively new product within the market. We're not the only people doing it. So it's kind of, how do we differentiate ourselves and our range from the competitors? So for us, again, it was very much going down that thought leadership avenue. Quality, we spent a lot of kind of time and work building the range and doing some MPD last year, ready to launch this year. So we've done a lot of internal training to get everybody on board with it. We do a lot of training sessions with our customers as well. So, and then to top it off, we've got fantastic creative kind of assets and campaigns, and it's doing really, really well. In fact, I think we're well ahead of budget already, just after first quarter for that product. So it's great to really try and position ourselves as quality supplier for that product.
Yeah, no, well, that's brilliant, and thank you all so much for joining today. Just wanted to kind of finish off letting everyone know about next week's topics. So Jim is going to be joined by Sarah Eberly, and she will be sharing views on her career, and it will be really interesting one to tune into. If you want to catch up on any points that you might have missed from this webinar, it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, where you can subscribe to get access to all of the content. But yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for joining. And yeah, it's been a great chat. So thanks guys.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.